You think luxury means memory foam, blackout curtains, and white noise machines. Cute. In the medieval sleep Olympics, royalty meant paying 12 peasants to stuff your mattress with slightly less rancid hay. VIP treatment sure if you consider waking up every hour to scratch your boils a perk. Welcome to the official insomnia package, peasant edition with bonus dysentery. Try this on for comfort. Your bed is 4 uneven planks, 2 broken lashed together with the kind of rope you only touch if tetanus sounds interesting. If you're important, you get a canopy. Not for privacy, just to slow down the spiders. You think your king-size Tempur-Pedic is rough. Imagine hauling 6 hours of damp mud off your boots, flopping onto a missile silo of straw, and drifting off to the wet, meaty cough of someone dying 3 feet away. King Henry IV spent 20 on a bed. He got lice anyway. Here's your reward for royalty: a pile of dead sheep pillows haunted by the ghosts of every angry god in Europe. Silk sheets. Congratulations, they're just more absorbent for the pus. Being king means never having a good night's sleep again, but getting murdered in style while you try. Meanwhile, peasants 6 hours of rest. Fieldwork for 14 hours, prayer for one, shoveling down unwashed turnip for dinner, then collapsing face first with whatever clothing you manage to not sell for bread. You want a weighted blanket. Fatigue is free, and the existential dread is hand-stitched. If you wake up at 2 a.m., congratulations, you survived a full first sleep. Still got another existential shift starting right after second sleep. Yes, the trend was polyphasic sleep cycles, which just meant more opportunities to get bitten by something with tiny teeth. No Ambien, no podcasts, no scrolling the plague bulletin on your phone. Just the wind howling through the holes in your thatch, the surprisingly close sound of livestock, and that neighbor who sobs every third night. Want sleeping tips Plantagenet style? Skip dinner, fear for your immortal soul, and pray the lice target your least useful extremity. There's no white noise, only the festive din of rats, the joyous yelping of feral dogs, and the soothing midnight murder in the next hamlet. Sweet dreams. Let's talk hygiene. Your sheets, never washed. Your feet, fungus Olympics. If the linens stink in your airbnb, imagine waking up to the petrichor of hay, manure, and something sweetly decaying. Bedding was often communal, like a sleepover, but everyone has scurvy. If you're very lucky, you get space to yourself. If not, hope your bedfellow snores less than the horse in the shed. History likes to brag that medieval folks slept so much deeper because there was no blue light. Sure, you had pure darkness. Also smallpox, bits of charcoal dust in your lungs, and a priest next door screaming his lungs out about lust, pride, and the Lord's will at 2 a.m. with volume to rattle your kidney stones. Nothing soothes the mind like candle smoke, animal entrails drying over the fire, and the satisfying crunch of flea eggs under your fingers. Curious about your REM cycles? You have one run, escape, maybe make it until sunrise. Let's not forget the dangers. If you're not speared by bedbugs, you might just wake to a burglar, a fire, or random summary justice. Night wasn't a time for peace, it was just when the monsters, real furry or human, got creative. Like dreams. Here's a recurring one: getting dragged from bed by guards who think you owe a goat tax. Sweet sleep interrupted by existential jurisprudence. By the way, heating options: animal body heat, or if you're rich, a fire. Occasionally set on purpose, always set with damp wood, so enjoy marinating in dense smoke before drifting off. Air quality was a suggestion. Ventilation 0. Window glass, a king's fantasy. It's openings or nothing, and nothing is mostly wind. Yes, nature sounds can be relaxing, unless it's the 9th hour of rain hammering the roof half off. Actual choice: sleep like a king, on blood-stained sagging straw, stuffed inside brocade, surrounded by everyone plotting to kill you or die trying. Half your neighbors croaked last winter. Your daily odds marginal, still chained to your mattress. Still not dead, You're just counting days 6 down infinite nightmares to go. Dream on royalty. Medieval sleep, the ultimate test of faith and back support. Luxury. You hear the word and imagine cloud silk, maybe someone spelling your name with rose petals. Right up until you wake up coughing hay dust because your mattress is a poorly disguised feed sack. Memory foam wasn't invented, but memory foam also never attracted rats desperate enough to bite toes. Welcome to the medieval bedroom where your chiropractor would moonwalk back out the door. You paid for the full medieval sleep experience. Congratulations. You just purchased tetanus in bulk. Modern luxury means wine by your nightstand and blackout curtains. Medieval luxury means not drowning in sweat beneath a filthy wool blanket and a roof that only starts leaking at dawn. No fitted sheets. No fluff. Just you some crushed straw and every insect who drew the wrong lottery in Noah's Ark. People complain about thread count now. Try counting the centipedes. Ever slept while something's crawling up your thigh and the straw poking your spine forms a constellation of bruises? It's like glamping if camping means, let's try tetanus roulette. Marie de France once called a hay bed the height of comfort. Love to see her Yelp review after one night. Stars deducted for rodent foot massage and hay fever, but all over. Paint the scene: chilled stone floors, walls sweating from bad insulation, and your bedding shed more grains than a medieval henhouse. Your pillow, rolled up cloak if you were lucky, greasy tunic if you were. Try sleeping soundly knowing your head is 3 inches from where someone once butchered a pig. Because why shouldn't your dreams come seasoned with lard? Let's add some context. Around 80 of England's population got luxury bedding, meaning a burlap skin sack stuffed with last week's livestock snacks. You want to level up? Stuff the sack with peas. Seriously, medieval records brag about pea mattresses. Didn't think agricultural detritus would be a key feature in your heirloom, did you? If you wanted something fancier, say feather beds, you'd better be royalty or at least good at tax fraud. Even the best feather mattress was stuffed with whatever dead geese could be safely stolen after midnight. The royal family literally slept on a pile of purloined feathers, which is as close as you could get to luxury when you're one bath away from the Black Death. Still think you survive allergy season. Hay dust up your lungs. Flea parade in your ear. Mix in the medieval flea. Think less tiny dog nuisance and more minute biological death machine. Every sheet came with a bonus pack: lice, ticks, bedbugs the size of lentils. The bedding had 2 cycles, infested and encrusted. If the hay's wet or rotten, you wake up marinated in bacteria, the way a salad soaks in cross-contaminated Caesar dressing. That's not an aroma candle. It's the stench of wilted barley and rotting straw. Sudden illness, mysterious fevers, and a slow snot-soaked fade to darkness, all courtesy of the Amazons of germs marching through your bloodstream at dawn. Sleep tight. Interior decor. Imagine a palette of not quite mud and hastily washed blood. Beds hunched under sagging beams, pressed against walls blooming with damp. Your nocturnal soundtrack. Wind howling through holes, pigs snoring under the house, and the persistent twitch of everything you wish had died in the harvest. Sometimes you shared your hay with sibling servants or a very determined chicken. Personal space meant not rolling onto someone else's boil. Think today's hotels are bad. At least the continental breakfast never bit back. The medieval bed was a DIY project. Out of fresh straw, too bad, grab some moss. Trust me, it's not hypoallergenic, but it is free. No mattress tags, no fire labels, no rules. As long as it didn't crawl out of your pillow, it counted as comfortable. People claimed they slept better. Of course they said that. You try falling asleep on a slab of agony and not passing out from sheer exhaustion. The average peasant didn't toss and turn, they just collapsed. No sleep apps, no melatonin, no lavender spray. Just dreams of falling into the void and waking up to find the fleas still winning. No thread count, just a body count. You want luxury bedding, here's your sack of hay. Hope you dreamed of something softer. If you wanted turn-down service, it was basically gravity. You definitely weren't alone, just ask the fleas. Still itchy, still not rested, sleep hygiene. Such a nice idea, like dental floss or world peace. Out here, your skincare routine is called sweating in burlap. Welcome to midnight and the backup dancers are on stage. Every inch of you dewy with day-old effort is an open invitation. Your hay mattress is a rotting salad, the sheets. Imagine a barn after Mardi Gras. Fleas queue up for wristbands. Rats RSVP with friends. You're not drifting off. You're hosting the Vermin Met Gala and the only dress code is itchy. You think sleep means dreams. Wrong century. Here sleep is a competitive sport. The world record, 5 minutes. Most nights you're too busy triaging the pain. Mosquito bites burning on ankles, toenails gnawed by an animal that's probably smarter than the mayor. Sure, you try going still. Maybe the rats won't notice your second toe if you pretend to be dead. Spoiler, they notice. You're the soft cheese course at their midnight tasting menu. Forget the concept of privacy. Modern open concept living, you wish. There are no locks. Just 6 siblings in arm's reach and a hen with a dawn complex. You roll over in someone's breath, garlicky, uncertain, definitely sentient, fogging the same air you try to choke down. Charles VI didn't go mad because of stress or mercury poisoning. He did it because every sunrise confirms the fleas still on his head, the rats still run his feet, and the servants are asking if anyone's seen the bread. If you do manage a nap, congratulations. You're about to be woken by the first rooster auditioning for France's Got Talent, or worse, the wet slap of a chamber pot relocating under your nose. Social anxiety, your co-host. Every shuffle is another body, another set of hungry eyes, animal or cousin, hard to tell. No such thing as boundaries, rats chew through straw as easily as etiquette. If something skitters near your ear, don't bother screaming. Last time you did, grandma called it character building. No one blinks if you cry, they're too busy inspecting their own bedsore bingo cards. The closest thing to a safe space is a hole in the mud. Even that comes pre-laced with centipedes. Don't worry, it's just a bite. Sure, until you find out that this one tiny flea is crash coursing the Black Death into your bloodstream. Yersinia pestis, the original influencer, brought to you by Team Rat and Flea. Wake up coughing and your neighbors are already moving your stuff. 3 weeks later, half the village is a rumor and you're top billing at the fever carnival. Modern panic attacks. Try waking to a lump under your blanket and realizing it's either a dead rat or your least favorite relative. You decide which is worse. The absurd part, nothing ever gets cleaner. Washing sheets means dragging them to the river where you trade lice for leeches, scrubbing your hair. Enjoy hard water brine and a cloud of mystery insects. You could shave your head, but then the sun peels your skin like an overripe peach. Pick your poison, vermin or sunburn. It all comes with a side of shame. Scratch in public and you're disgusting. Ignore the itch and you're tonight's main course. Any sign of weakness, fainting, crying, actual sleep, is a personal invitation for gossip or a hen to roost on your face. At least Twitter trolls can be blocked here. The only thing you block is the light, and even then you're sleeping with one eye open for teeth. How's that for sleeping on it? You stare at the ceiling. Its greatest feature. The spider's 6-legged monks claiming squatters' rights in every beam, drooling judgment. Counting them helps. So does counting breaths, heartbeats, rat whiskers, fresh scars. The body count. 50% if you're lucky, less if you choose optimism. Black Death, famine, or cousin problems, choose your apocalypse. You survive by never truly resting, still awake, still itchy, still not dead. Yet, you wake up exhausted, but not from insomnia, from the medieval grind where REM cycles are for saints and the dead. Sleep hygiene. Try dirt hygiene. Forget melatonin. Your life is powered by chores, backbreaking, and relentless. The closest you get to a bedtime routine is praying your neighbor's cough isn't the next Black Death headline. Spin the wheel, peasant. It's 2 hours after sunset. The barn's still not mucked, and your lord's sheep have decided the wheat field is now a toilet. You wanted 8 hours. You're lucky if you get 4 crammed between feeding pigs and shoveling something that is definitely not hay. You have the modern wisdom of prioritize self-care. Yet come explain that to Marjorie the serf, whose self-care is not being trampled by oxen before sunrise. Every season means new chores, new disasters, same bloody sacks under your eyes. Harvest. You're up before sunrise swinging a scythe that hasn't felt sharp since Richard II's reign. Winter. Now you're patching roofs, chasing rats, and questioning which will kill you first, the cold, the damp, or the existential dread. Modern busy work is an office spreadsheet. Here it's dodging dysentery and praying your hay fever isn't the plague in disguise. Chores weren't just chores. They were a full-body workout from hell with a side of existential peril. Laundry. A river ice-cold finger-numbing and a chance to catch the historic diphtheria special. Dishes. You're scrubbing crusty pewter with sand while fighting off a chicken with murder in its eyes. Forget walking 10 steps. Try hauling 80 liters of water a day just to stay hydrated or to convince the fleas to pick on someone else. You think disrupted sleep means scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m. Here it means being wrenched awake because the thatch is on fire, the cow is in labor, or the ambient screams are now your business. You don't wind down, you just wind tighter, bracing for the next crisis. Sunrise means fear. Sunset means unfinished work. Midnight, that's for wolf howls and anxiety spasms, not deep rest. You fantasize about a day off, a break. Sundays sound soft if you're a lord with gout. For everyone else it's church, then straight back to the grind. Bread won't bake itself, and someone forgot to salt the fish. Sabbath rest is an urban legend. The only break you get is if pneumonia lands you in a ditch long enough for someone else to pick up your list. Even monks weren't safe from the to-do list from hell. Ask Benedict of Nursia, whose rule meant prayers at midnight, chores at dawn, and a lifetime of spiritual FOMO. Every bell toll is a new demand. Take a monk's nap at the wrong hour and congratulations, penance duty. You think you're sneaking a nap, but there's always someone making you feel bad for it. Guilt, the only thing medieval people had more of than boils. The closest thing to bedroom accessories is a straw mattress riddled with guests, lice, fleas, rodents, sheets. Hope you like burlap. Pillows were for the rich and probably cursed. Your sleep chronotype is irrelevant. The rooster wins, the cock crows, your joints scream. Chronic fatigue. Try chronic survival. Tiredness isn't a problem, it's the background music. Analyze medieval breaks, and you're just describing basic collapse. Maybe you nod off in a field, scythe in hand, mouth open for the local fly community. Maybe you find solace in the 4 inches between chores and chores, hopping your spindle doesn't tangle or your breath doesn't freeze. Power nap sounds modern, here it's collapse or else. Pass out from exhaustion, wake up to a goat chewing your hair, repeat. So did medieval people sleep better? Only if they passed out from exhaustion. No blackout curtains, no 8-hour guarantee, just the warm embrace of unending labor and the cold reality that the rooster is your snooze button now. Still tired, still on the chore wheel, still not dead. 1 room, 3 generations, 6 reeking bodies. Welcome to Privacy Medieval Edition, where your personal space is a 1400s fever dream and the only thing thinner than the wall is your self-respect. Curtains. Sure, if you count mildew-stained rags doubling as draft stoppers and lice ropeways. Real medieval luxury, everyone sees everything, hears everything, smells everything. Sometimes you're not sure if you're sleeping or held hostage by Sir Unshowered the Flatulent. You want alone time? Strap in. Your bed is a lumpy pallet inches from Grandpa's feet, and if you're lucky, he's only yelling at ghosts once tonight. Sharing a room with children sounds charming, until you realize that children include 7 underfed cousins who treat your hair as their night toy. And forget romance, making out means not waking up the baby, your aunt, or the rooster you're sharing it with. Privacy isn't a right, it's a punchline. You don't get a bedroom, you get whatever corner you can colonize from the chickens, and God help you Grandpa's night terrors. Want to undress? Congratulations, 13 people just saw you invent the peasant striptease. No locks, no soundproofing, no TikTok filters to pretend this isn't hell with hay bales. Go ahead, whisper your secrets. You might as well shout them since walls are wishful thinking. Waddle and daub with more holes than your dignity. Every argument is public. Every bodily function, broadcast in surround sound. Your mother-in-law's commentary is as inescapable as the draft's. Personal boundaries, drawn in yesterday's pig slop and trampled by the only pair of shoes the family owns. King Henry IV supposedly died in a filthy Westminster chamber surrounded by gawping courtiers. That's actually aspirational. You, on the other hand, are on a rush mat in full view of every cousin, rival, and small mammal in your village Hamlet cosplay. And yes, someone's always snoring. And no, it's never you. Bathing, don't even ask. Water means hauling buckets from a river, and the good tub is family property. Siblings, parents, in-laws, everyone rotates through the bathwater until it's less hygiene, more soup stock. So your clean is relative. Like a frat house after homecoming, but with extra typhus. Your evening routine, ignore the fleas, ignore the weeping, ignore that someone is definitely about to pee in a pot 2 feet from your head. Hamlet held Yorick's skull, you clutch your wilting dignity. Don't worry, you won't wake up screaming. There's no chance you fell asleep. You think modern open-plan living destroys intimacy. This is open-plan existence. The communal cot doubles as a penal colony. It's family togetherness as a weapon. If you want to cry in private, try the pigsty, assuming the pig gives permission. If you want to read, good luck, the fire's out, the rushlights are gone, and everyone's waiting for you to shut up so they can gossip about your rash. Toilets. They're called chamber pots, and they serve as both alarm clock and marital deterrent. If you don't trip over one at 2 a.m., it's only because your cousin already filled it. Meanwhile, every rat from Northumbria is running the baseboards, presumably in search of privacy. You'll never know. Still thinking about that password-protected Zoom call? Try negotiating 30 seconds to pray without a toddler gnawing your toe. Even confession isn't private, the priest lives next door, and your sins are recycled as punchlines by breakfast. Never mind boundaries. Spaces bleed into each other with the efficiency of misery. But hey, at least you're not cold, just humiliated. And as you stare into the darkness, listening to Grandma's sleep muttering and the rats' midnight ballet, you get it. In medieval times, the only true private space was a coffin. But even that, judging from churchyards, was a group activity. Still chained, still not dead, still no curtains. Let's do the math. 1 candle lights your room, 1 open window gives you full access to the wind god's private parts. Congratulations, you're about to experience sleep the medieval way, where night shift doesn't mean overtime but actually surviving until sunrise. You think your upstairs neighbor is loud. Meet your new roommates, Charles the Itch, Bridget the Sneeze, and an orchestra of pissing drafts. It's like camping, but you're paying rent with actual suffering. No insulation, no double glazing, Just a wall thinner than your last excuse and a candle so humble it wouldn't pass a fire code in a toddler's dollhouse. The wind sprints through the room like a vengeful ex. Every night an Arctic flash mob. Joan of Arc had better central heating and she got barbecued. The candle is an optimist. It believes you can get dressed, avoid tripping over your own feet, and spot the rat chewing your blanket, all by the light of a single flickering yoke of flame. Outside, dogs howling, iron hinges screaming, distant bandits debating ethics. Inside you, in 4 layers of wool, weighing the odds of hypothermia versus asphyxiation if you block the window. Even the household cats sleep on top of you for warmth, and they're judging you the whole time. You dream of blackout curtains and heated blankets, meanwhile half the medieval population dreams of not freezing to death, while a candle with the lifespan of a fruit fly gutters out. Don't hug the walls, they sweat more than you do. Your bedroom ambience is foot smoke, candle stench, and wind howling nope through the beams. Speaking of bedding, hope you love straw lice and the medieval version of a memory foam mattress, bloody straw packed in a sack swapped every 167 days when the pest load stages a revolution. Pillows are spare cloth. Blankets are optimism dipped in sheep. If you're flush, maybe you get a feather bed. Plot twist, the feathers are flea condos. If you're lucky enough to work nights or unlucky enough to not have a choice, enjoy night watchmen, duties guarding against thieves, wolves, and the kind of ghosts that have unionized. Alone in the cold, tiny flame as your BFF holding out against the dark like a medieval Frodo, except most Frodos just died of exposure. Eyelids stuck open. Hope stuck closed. Imagine the thrill your boss is the wind your coworker is existential dread your shift ends when the sun returns or you stop moving. Coffee doesn't exist yet, just cold posset and the sound of your joints. Historical fun fact, King Henry VI couldn't sleep without 30 candles, which means your peasant setup is about as lit as a medieval grave. The king got insomnia, peasants just got frostbite hallucinations and maybe a promotion to corpse. Still chained to the job, still not dead. Half the prisoners died in a week. Ure on day 6. There are moments between shivering, coughing, and plotting to murder your own shadow where you almost admire medieval optimism. Just sleep, says the advice column written by people whose beds are above the kitchen. Try prayer, yells your in-laws as you hallucinate Saint Dymphna whispering, get a better blanket. No air, no help, no way out. Sometimes your candle gutters and goes blind at 2 a.m. You're left in darkness softer than a spiderweb, eyes wide as tankards listening to rats in the rafters read you a bedtime story in Morse code. If you get desperate, you relight with a splinter from the fire downstairs, but only if you dare descend the death trap stairs. No handrail. Hope you bounce. Modern life offers you Alexa lighting blackout curtains, HVAC, or failing that, a simple door. Medieval living dangles you between a rock-hard mattress and an open invitation to pneumonia. Airborne but for pain. Noise machines now play Rainstorm. Back then the soundscape was barn collapse with bonus owl. Sleep is only for the confident or comatose, so keep that candle burning. Just don't expect any warmth, privacy, or hope. The real night shift is waiting, and it's out of matches. Still chained. Still not dead. Welcome to the graveyard shift. You think sharing a bed means date night or a Netflix cuddle. Try fitting 6 half-feral peasants, 1 lice-infested matron, and a mildew-riddled dog into a mattress the size of a bath towel. Pro tip if you're the youngest, congrats. Your pillow is someone else's foot. If you're the eldest, you get the warm spot, which is just code for closest to an accidental stabbing. Forget Tuesday night coziness. Sharing a bed in the Middle Ages was Apple Genius bar lines, except swap minor inconvenience for chronic back pain and a contagious skin disease. Go ahead, finish your prayers beside your uncle's snoring open mouth. He's snoring because he has no teeth and breathes through a hole that never healed. You wanted family togetherness. What you get is a stranger's nose hair tickling your cheek all night. No families didn't bond. They survived like captive zoo animals. Privacy wasn't a concept, it was an old French word no one in the Holy Roman Empire could spell. Everybody slept wherever they found space. Kids, guests, livestock, drunks. This was more squatters' rights than slumber party. King Henry VIII snored with his courtiers slumped beside him, but don't feel bad. It's not like anyone got to sleep through an entire night without a pig rooting up their blanket. Romantic. The line for midnight spooning goes father dog cousin guessed you. If you hate it too bad, the alternatives include a flea pit in the stables or the world's draftiest barn, which is just code for nice try corpse. The only real tuck-in was from whatever disease finally slips into your lungs before you fall asleep. At least there's a certain fairness. No one has a proper bed, not even the lord of the manor. A feather mattress. Congratulations, it's stuffed with bird mites, and the feathers once belonged to birds that drowned in the same swamp you use as a well. Of course, there's always the bed sharing is healthy cult. Sure, if by healthy you mean learning to ignore tuberculosis breath and nightly rat stampedes. Clinical trials share one straw mattress with 7 strangers in a London plague year. Odds of waking up rested roughly equal to those of guessing the king's favorite saint on Punishment Day. The modern equivalent. Getting stuck in a hostel dorm at Oktoberfest, except the rats bite less. Some nights are cold. The solution: form a human lasagna with your extended family, neighbors, and anyone else desperate enough to crawl under the covers. Revel in the warmth if you call it that. At least until someone coughs hard enough to shake loose the bugs clinging to the wall or grandpa's perpetual fever soaks the sheets. Not that there are sheets, just layers of wool so scratchy you trade your immortal soul for a pillowcase. Bonus lice travel at night. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, except everyone's tired, poor, and huddled for the next round of plague roulette. Snuggling for warmth. That's adorable. In 1348, you'll cling to body heat until someone coughs blood in your face. Granny wants the edge, dads hogging the dent, and Uncle Pier never figured out which way is up. Welcome to the original escape room minus the clues with extra fleas. No one gets out comfortable. Some don't get out at all. Consider how bed means something different by class 2. For peasants, it's basically a mossy beanbag and some bread crusts they call a pillow. For the wealthy, it's a multi-story 4-poster fortress with curtains, not for privacy, but to stop bats from bombing your face. So yes, the rich got space, but also guaranteed bats. Bed sharing is universal, but misery is scalable. Share, share, share. That's the rule, unless you're condemned, in which case you might get the Dungeon Deluxe shackled ankles rock floor and a cellmate who chews rocks in his sleep. Still chained, still not dead. Medieval group sleep is less healing touch, more mutual hostage negotiation. And the first one to sleep too deeply probably wakes up missing a boot or a cousin. Forget sleep hygiene. Picture limbs everywhere, breath like a butcher's garbage bin, and the sweet lullaby of, oh, never mind, it's just the neighbor dying. You wanted medieval sleep. Here's your communal panic fort. No curtain, no silence, no chance. Still beats a night alone in the woods. Just ask the lice. I'm sure they slept great. This wasn't bonding. It was battlefield triage every night forever. Remember, no pillow fights, just the desperate, feverish shuffle for a smidgen of warmth and a patch of straw that isn't already soaking up somebody's regrets. You think you're ready? Great. You're not. You did it. You survived first sleep, aka the early shift for nightmares. Now congrats, you get to participate in history's answer to hitting snooze second sleep. That's right. Medieval peasants basically invented polyphasic rest centuries before Silicon Valley made it an app with a monthly subscription and a panic attack. The only difference: tech bros have blue light filters. You have goats sleeping on your feet and a 16th century lice problem that's immune to prayer, herbal tea, and common sense. The church bells ring. You're awake. Not because you want to be. No one ever wants to be. But because hiding from the cold under your cloak gets boring after 3 hours. And face it, if you don't check your chickens at 2 a.m., who will? The rats. Your neighbor. Last time you skipped a night watch, you lost 2 eggs, half a candle, and most of your faith in humanity. Night is quiet except for the snoring of 6 other serfs, the faint hope someone else will relight the fire, and the realization you're out of dry moss. Again. Your feet are numb, your back is soaked in someone else's nightmare sweat, and the wind is debating whether to remove the roof tonight. Second sleep isn't a fresh start. It's the awkward intermission. Like opening Instagram at 3 a.m. You're not supposed to be up, but everyone secretly is. Some folks pray holding still with that look that says, "Dear God, please don't let me be the first one eaten by wolves." Others gossip. Nothing passes time like whispering about old Marjorie's third husband or whether that barn really is haunted. Some stare into the blackness and reconsider life choices like moving 3 villages away for better mud, or marrying into a family that counts bedbugs as pets. You talk to the family, but you're still mad about the time your brother stole your only potato, then blame the dog. He says he needed the energy for his ox shift. What are you going to do, sue him? Did you get enough rest in first sleep? Guess you'll never know. Scientists love to point out biphasic sleep was natural. Sure, if you consider insomnia, freezing toes, and chronic anxiety part of a holistic medieval wellness routine. Sleep hygiene consists of washing the same shirt you cried into, assuming you have water and the creek isn't frozen or full of ghosts or both. Not even the fancy people in the manor house get real rest. Their beds are straw too, and their rats are just better fed. If you were lucky, second sleep might include a midnight mass or illicit game of dice, or a little quiet time with the spouse while everyone else pretends to be dead. Only problem: nothing's private in a one-room hut. Best case, someone snoring drowns you out. Worst case, you lock eyes with Greytan Agnes across the fire pit. That's intimacy medieval edition. Sometimes you just sit up and poke the embers, counting how many days since your last full sleep. Arithmetic is easy, none. You wonder what city people do. Probably sleep on feather beds, wake up refreshed, and never scrape frostbite off their toes with a rusty coin. Maybe you'd be more successful in London. Fancier mud, but twice as many thieves. No one's winning. Just different angles to disappointment. Third sleep. If you're lucky, it's a nap out in the field, sun on your face, mud in your mouth. More likely you're lying there wide awake, questioning if God plays favorites or just ignores medieval time zones. Sleep is as likely as summer in January. You pull the blanket tighter, listen to someone cough up their dreams, and calculate if it's worth it to get up and pee. It is. Still chained to the daily grind, still not dead. Yet, there's always tomorrow's nap. Maybe, if the cows don't escape, if the river does flood, if your brother doesn't eat your last potato again. You think about the luxury of 8 straight hours. It's a fantasy, like literacy, or dry shoes. First sleep, second sleep, third guessing every choice since birth. Welcome to history's original insomnia club. No membership required, only suffering optional. Enjoy your rest, or what passes for it. You want dream interpretation. Here's the medieval method. If you remember your dreams, congratulations. You're probably about to die. Nice flex. Somewhere between the open sewer and the neighbor's goat, your immune system decided to throw a fever-fueled light show. Freud isn't born for 800 years, but you're hallucinating so hard you'd convince anyone dead relatives really do visit you in the night. Let be clear. Most folks didn't dream because most folks didn't make it to REM. Not when Lady Insomnia brings a lineup of lice, livestock, chronic hunger, and the philosophical dread of being a peasant under King Edward. You don't get vision quests. You get blackout sleep so heavy you could miss a minor Viking raid and call it a nap. Forget dream catchers. You're lucky to get a blanket that isn't haunted by the previous owner's plague. The communal straw mattress, the medieval equivalent of a Petri dish, doesn't invite sweet visions. It invites rashes, boils, and the occasional extra limb. Most nights' sleep is something your body attempts only when it's been bludgeoned by exhaustion, hunger, or both. REM is a luxury for people with doors and full stomachs. Monks, scholars, anyone claiming, "I had a dream," they are either suffering from St. Vitus' dance or just had a rotten fish for dinner. Joan of Arc had dreams. Guess where that got her? Burned at the stake, hallucinating angels and probably wishing she'd slept through history instead. If you're bold enough to mention your dreams to the village priest, congratulations, you're now possessed, cursed, or qualified for an exorcism. No therapist's couch, just threats of holy water and a lifetime ban from bread. Let's look at the science. Or well, the bucket of goat bile that passes for science. Dreaming requires REM, which requires deep, uninterrupted sleep. But you fighting rats for the warm corner of the room, jumping every time your neighbor's cough turns into a death rattle, are lucky to string together 4 hours. Not even the rats have REM. Sleep hygiene. Try sleep triage. If you close your eyes, it's because the alternative is listening to your own stomach eat itself 1 more hour. Fevers are the real medieval Netflix, except the only genre is body horror. Your temperature spikes, you sweat harder than a monk in a whorehouse, and suddenly you're starring in a one-person morality play with cameos by all your dead relatives. Clouded by heat and infection, your brain does its best to kill you with content. Vivid dreams. Those are the equivalent of Windows shutting down due to a critical error. They say every part of your brain means something. Modern nonsense when most of the population's brain power is invested in not dying from oat mold. Ancient physicians might tell you your dream was a vision sent by God. More likely it was just a side effect of that sketchy eel stew. The only consistent symbolism: if you saw a demon, you probably had a fever. If the demon waved back, make your last will and testament. If you dreamed of running away, the real miracle is waking up after. Did I mention the medieval dream dictionary? Spoiler, it's less Jung, more doomscroll. Dreamed your teeth fell out. That's an omen you'll lose family, health, or coin. Dreamed of flying. If only pal, check your breathing because you're probably about to never get up again. Literal translation: every dream is foreshadowing every nightmare and invoice coming due. Forget therapy dogs. The medieval comfort animal is a rat on your blanket and a chicken at your feet, and both are as likely to feast on your corpse as to comfort you. If you dreamed at all, it was probably because some parasite picked up a megaphone and started narrating. Congratulations, you're officially the Fever Channel's late-night rerun. One historian said the body is a house of fever. The mind, permanent open house, no lock on the door. You want meaning? Here's your symbol. If your mind departs at night, it's not chasing cosmic secrets. It's leaking out the holes drilled by disease. So if you woke up in 1352 raving about unicorns or dead cousins, don't worry. You're not special. You're just infected. Still chained to the mattress, still not dead. Yet, dream on. For now you're just the next relic in the house that fever built. Congratulations. You're out of bed mostly because someone screamed at the sun. Forget your smartphone alarm. Here's your medieval wake-up call: rooster to the eardrum at 5 a.m., guilt to the spleen for the rest of your life. Human snooze button. That's your spouse elbowing your ribs and muttering about the state of your soul. Miss Dawn once and you're a lazy heretic. Twice and your neighbors are already scheduling your intervention, possibly with pitchforks. Nobody's tracking sleep cycles, they're tracking your honor. Which in medieval terms means, are you sweating by first light, or are you the reason the village fails the annual wheat grind? Boomers invented the work ethic, but medievals weaponized it. You think waking up to blaring EDM is cruel? Try 30 pounds of iron chain for pajamas and a cellmate with halitosis so biblical it could be canon law. Luxury alarm options, rooster, church bell, existential panic. If you oversleep, there's always Brother Matthew standing over your hay mat reciting sinners, statistics like a monastery Alexa. 4 out of 5 monks pray before sunrise. Be the 5th. He's just disappointed. No, he's furious. Because now you're delaying Jesus and breakfast. Monasteries don't count sheep, they count bells. 3 rings. You're definitely late and Brother Anthony is judging you like an over-caffeinated Fitbit. If you think Alexa is relentless, try Gregorian chants at 3 a.m. for the next 40 years. Detest the rooster. Too bad. He's literally protected by canon law in some towns. Rooster, church bells, mom yelling. You versus the holy trinity of rude awakenings. Modern science counts REM cycles, but medievals judged virtue by how much dirt you rubbed into your eyelids by sunrise. Cure for nightmares. Manual labor at dawn followed by penance. Maybe a splash of water to the face, assuming it isn't frozen inside the bucket. Don't forget sheets are for the rich, pillows are voodoo, and your mattress is a bag of expired oats and whatever rodents survive the blackout. The only scented candle is a slowly expiring tallow stub dripping fat onto your only pair of socks. You want to sleep in. Cute. The Black Death didn't get a snooze button either. Everybody's haunted by plague creditors, or, if you're royalty, the increasingly vocal ghosts of murdered uncles. Miss your wake-up call. Try explaining to a parish council why the market isn't open and the priest didn't make it to matins. Spoiler confessions don't cover laziness. Oversleep and your enemies add it to the list of reasons you should be exorcised, convicted, or abandoned on a leper barge. Alarm clock, but make it existential. You're not just missing breakfast, you're risking your immortal soul, your fields, your family, and the town's last hope at avoiding another year of famine. And good luck catching up on sleep. Unless catching up means fasting, flagellation, and maybe a light beheading. Insomnia, that is not a recognized diagnosis. Call it sloth and confess harder. Still chained, still not dead, roosters crowing. Everyone you know is evaluating your moral worth by how fast you ray on your feet and how furiously you curse the rooster. Judgment Day every day. Sleep is for the dead, which at this rate is starting to sound like vacation. You want luxury. You want a sleep system with lumbar support and a 9-figure mattress influencer whispering ASMR affirmations in your ear. Good luck. Medieval sleep rankings weren't about feeling your best. They were about waking up with fewer new species than you went to bed with. Spoiler, you never won. Count your blessings, or count the fleas. In the 14th century France's King Charles VI shared his sheets with 300 bedbugs and more mood swings than a Netflix drama. Your mattress collects dust, there spawned new religions. Imagine a sleep study where the control group is not being eaten alive. Participation badge, surviving breakfast mostly intact. Thread count. Try counting the grubs. Noble or peasant, everyone played the what's that crawling on my calf game at 3 a.m. Homes came with bonus floors, dirt, moisture leaks. They called it ambience. The sweet aroma of lavender sachets, sorry, wrong century. These were curtains marinated in centuries of coughs and livestock. Your biggest worry is whether the dog hops on the bed. They got nightly visits from dubbed mice. Yes, named after the knights of the Round Table, except these brought plague instead of quests. Every mattress was a biohazard. Stuffed with straw, damp and surprise, crawling with guests. You pull back your cozy self-heating duvet. They pulled back a rat the size of a sock. Today you worry about pollen allergies. They worried about which rodent would make eye contact before dawn. Bugs weren't a nuisance. They were architecture. Lice made highways. Fleas ran social clubs. The straw mat was more alive than the person on it. One study counted 6 distinct insect species in the average noble's bed, enough for a starter zoo. Fun family project: see who finds the king bug first. Loser gets the plague. Bug spray, that's adorable. Try burning sage, screaming at the ceiling, or just nomming your lice for morale. Too rich for tapeworms. Call the apothecary. Too poor for candles. Enjoy Viking-era insomnia featuring 12-legged foot warmers. Sleep hygiene, please. That's not a routine, that's a punchline. Maybe you meditate, play whale sounds, limit screen time. They tried sleeping upright to avoid choking on their own phlegm while rats navigated the footboard like Olympic athletes. You control your thermostat. They shared body heat with goats. Morning breath wasn't just a hazard, it was evidence. Still think sleep hygiene is about blue light and 10 p.m. wind down routines. Sleep tip: don't roll over or you'll make it onto the breakfast menu. Some families slept with a knife under the pillow for protection, for pest dissection, or just so the fleas knew their place. This wasn't co-sleeping, it was a multi-species collaboration. Cold at night? Don't worry. There's a beetle using your armpit as a sauna. Privacy. You have your family and enough vermin to fuel a year of medical advances. No weighted blanket, just the literal weight of festering biology. Dream of satin sheets. Try blood-stained hay. Live alone. Not even the king got that luxury. The peasant's one-room hut: sleep with 7 family members, 2 goats, and a rotating cast of invertebrates. The lord's featherbed: feather, dung, and the occasional dead bird. Fluff that. You want to be the well-rested generation. Step back. Medieval sleep meant pest management as a team sport. No thread count, no silk, no peace. Just you, the darkness, and a cockroach auditioning for Hamlet at 3 in the morning. Sleep was less about REM cycles, more about creative adaptation. Intrusive thoughts. Try an actual species introduction. Some parish records list insect affliction right between gout and consumption. Doctors couldn't fix it, priests wouldn't bless it. You want to biohack your rest. They wanted to avoid waking up with extra mouths to feed. You weren't the main character in your dreams. You were lunch, still chained, still not dead. And somewhere out there, King Charles VI still isn't sleeping through the night. Herbal remedies: because opiates were for the rich. You want a sleeping pill? Try poverty. If you were a medieval peasant, opium was a distant rumor, like personal hygiene or human rights. Sure, Lady Muck 3 fields over might have a poppy garden and a personal apothecary. If you wanted to forget the rats, insomnia, and existential dread, you reached for a fistful of something green, probably toxic, and definitely recommended by someone who once bled out their cousin for hiccups. It's not really herbal medicine so much as the dandelions no one else wanted. Valerian. Only if the local wise woman has it and she's still mad you called her turnip wine. Cloudy. Mugwort. Tastes like regret, but hey, keeps the nightmares weird. Nightshade. Just a pinch, says the guy also selling Newt's eyes. Forget measuring spoons. Your doses are pinch or handful. Wake up with your tongue numb, half blind, and if the stars align, maybe actually wake up. Survival rate unconfirmed. Let's play spin the bottle with your sleep aids. Maybe you boil some lettuce. Yes, lettuce water centuries before TikTok. Not because it works, but because the alternative is listening to wind rattle the thatch for another night. No chamomile unless it grows wild and no one else beat you to it. Catnip. Not for the cat, she's already run off anyway. For you it's a weak sedative. Tastes like hay and regret. Meanwhile, the upper classes are bathing their nerves in imported Turkish poppy syrup, counting sheep on feather beds, and griping about air drafts while you stuff your pillow with crumbled St. John's wort, not for sleep, but because it vaguely smells like something not dead. You hear tales of laudanum nights, rich folks, rave reviews, and all-day naps. Your reality. Drinking stinging nettle tea so bad you gag yourself halfway to unconsciousness. Bored of the backyard bouquet. There's always mandrake. Supposedly magical, if you don't mind the possible death or the hallucinations where you barter with your neighbor's goat. Sure, the legend said mandrake roots screamed as they were pulled from the earth. Know what else screams? You trying to chase down dreams while your joints ache and a local dog pees on your door. You think wellness influencers are sketchy. Please. Medieval influencers were strung-out nuns and semi-literate monks hawking alchemy pamphlets at the market square. Hildegard of Bingen, patron saint of apparently sleepless malcontents, recommending fennel for nightmares and blue stones for depression. The guy prescribing ground sapphire. He's also the town dentist. Suddenly your grandma's essential oil addiction feels downright clinical. Self-experimentation was less biohacking and more survival of the least stupid. There are recipes for sleep potions involving lettuce, crushed poppy seeds, and honey. Sounds harmless, right? Until you remember medieval bees could kill a man with one sting. Honey was for the rich and poppy seeds were strictly decorative, unless you flirted with the hangman's daughter. So you settle for dream pillows, stuffed with lavender or whatever weeds weren't eaten by the donkey. Your best hope for rest, total exhaustion, and maybe a knock on the head at the mill. Let's not forget the lovely herbal poultices, slapped on temples, tied around throats, or shoved up the nose. Sleep by asphyxiation now with added basil. If that didn't knock you out, the burning incense was a decent backup plan, assuming you didn't choke or light your hovel on fire. Historical pro tip: if it burns, gags, or tastes like doom, it's probably calming. Half these brews put you to sleep. The other half just rearrange your nightmares. Ever sipped hemlock by mistake? Let's just say Socrates didn't come back for seconds. Local wisdom, hallucinating about cabbage demons beats counting lice. Call it holistic. By the time you're well rested, you might also be well buried, still not asleep. Don't worry. The priest says a cold compress made of holy relics and cabbage juice will definitely send you somewhere. It might not be dreamland, but at least it's quiet, unless you count the church bells, roosters, and wild hallucinations. But hey, still chained to your hay pile. Still not dead. Today's health tip: if you can pronounce all the herbs in your mug, you're doing better than 6 out of 10 peasants. You want sleep? There's always church bells, or cowbells, or some shrieking apprentice losing his dignity for the 10th time this week at 3 a.m. Forget actual rest. Medieval Europe invented insomnia centuries before it was cool and then made it mandatory. You think your neighbor's subwoofer is rough? Try a monk with a mallet and God's calendar. Bells ring at dawn, dusk, and every time St. Lourdes needs an ego boost. Bored of the church? Wait for the cows, those four-legged sleep assassins clanging through the street at sunrise, noon, and basically whenever your eyelids even flirt with REM. Earplugs. How about a handful of straw jammed so deep it counts as dental work? You didn't get urban planning, you got animal planning. Cows, dogs, piss buckets dumped out windows. Auditory assault wasn't an event, it was the atmosphere. Richard the Lionheart got serenaded by monks, you get serenaded by brother flatulence and a herd of armored hamsters. Still not awake? Don't worry, there's a backup alarm. The watchman with the emotional range of an air raid siren bawling out the hour so loudly even the rats file noise complaints. Sleep mask. Know you get a face full of moon through the glassless window, if you had a window. Peasants got walls like Swiss cheese and insulation like your failed New Year's resolution. Irony, you survived the plague only to be murdered nightly by St. Mary's Carillon. Insomnia wasn't a disorder. It was a group activity led by a drunk monk, some bell ropes, and a village with the collective subtlety of a YouTube prank channel. But who needs dreams? Odds are you're just hallucinating from lack of sleep. On the bright side, you'll hear the church bells ringing loud and clear as you march to your next over-caffeinated day in hell. Still chained, still not dead. Think you'd get used to it? Ask a 13th century chronicler why half his ink is spent describing night terrors and phantasmagoria. Not because the medieval world was haunted, unless you count the echo of church bells churning through your skull every 2 hours. Spoiler, you're not sleeping through that. Monks made matins sound like a nuclear blast in a confessional. No snooze button, just more chanting. Sometimes for fun, the sexton would accidentally drop the clapper. On stone, city life. Think walled-in peace and quiet. Let me introduce you to the guild apprentices, basically unpaid interns with puberty and hammers. Add ale. Subtract self-control. Yes, the town watch really is chasing a naked Cooper up your street at 2 a.m. singing in Latin. Good luck getting back to sleep after that parade, especially when the watch changes and somebody else gets the shouty stick. No quiet hours, just the medieval version of a frat party that never ends. By the way, livestock don't do weekends. Cows and sheep bellow through the streets dragging bells so loud you taste copper while goats chew on your doors. If you're high status, you get ornamental oxen. They come with bigger bells and more existential regret. Night or day, you're never more than a stone's throw from someone herding, milking, or berating an animal. Bonus points if the noise bounces off the stone walls for optimal echo chamber insanity. Luxury hotels. Try sleeping in an inn above a tavern. Medieval floorboards amplify every drunk, disagreement, every sleepless child, and every bout of musician's ambition. Viols, clattery harps. That one guy with a bagpipe and no indoor voice. You paid extra for this. Welcome to Airmen, but for pain. And those rural countryside retreats, damp straw beds in one room, shacks walls thinner than your patience. Thunderstorms. Hope you like rain percussion. Church bells carry farther in the country, bouncing 10 times between hills. Even the crickets are twice as loud just to keep up with the local branding. Insomnia. No sleep hygiene. No out-of-office emojis. No HR to submit a complaint about the monk next door with bell rage. Just the medieval promise: the more you need sleep, the more the town conspires to keep you awake. Bells, animals' cries for help, drunks, and really persistent fleas. Like group therapy if the group's main coping mechanism is to yell the psalms through your wall every 3 hours. You want a dream. You get nightmares, half fever, half acoustics, and half wishing you were dead. Modern life has blue light and screen addiction. Medieval life has real light, torches, lightning, and flames from yet another accidental bakery fire, and the only thing blue is your face from cold. Either way, same result: up all night, still chained, still not dead. They called it a nap. Like a gentle siesta, except you're lying motionless in heavy drapes while the help wonders if you're asleep or another corpse to drag out this week. Your big flex. Hearing someone just to keep your snoring off rhythm with the death rattles from the plague ward. Royalty separating themselves from the peasants mostly by not getting buried quite as quickly. Forget my space, my rules. You're flat on your back, drooling Grand Cru onto a bloodstain you're pretty sure predates the Magna Carta. Luxury is relative. For nobles, the right to nap in public wasn't about comfort, it was about control. Anyone can drop dead on a straw pallet in a pigsty. Only a count gets to nap surrounded by servants with instructions not to look too concerned. Decadence is a performance. 1 part wellness, 3 parts plausible deniability. Exterior opulence. Interior possible crime scene. The Count closes his eyes for just a moment, and nobody's sure if they should fetch a priest or more feather pillows. Still, your silk sheets probably haven't been washed since Geoffrey Plantagenet rested in them, with his boots on by the way, so either way something, dying in that bed. Let's not forget the ambience. Candles guttering in smoky sconces, moth-chewed tapestries, and those drafty arrow slits adding early hypothermia to the menu. It's like the Four Seasons if your idea of room service is a rat with bread crust. Every closed eyelid is a test upper-class ennui or imminent putrefaction. In the time it takes for a snore to start a rumor's already halfway across the courtyard that you've been poisoned by your brother-in-law's cousin's cousin. Here, how you boost your status, spend 70 of your day on horizontal displays of dominance. Invite the court. If your enemies drop by, pour them a drink, then lie back and see who outlives whom. They call it repose. You call it hiding from history's worst HR complaints. It's all optics. If you die at the table, you're careless. Die in the garden, weak. But die in bed, clearly destiny. Now your mattress is a national shrine and someone's chiseling your final yawn onto a cathedral. That's not sleep, that's legacy management. So you lie still surrounded by sycophants and aspiring heirs, all waiting for the tap on the shoulder that means they're next in line to rest. This isn't a bedroom, it's a liability. The Queen's getting her beauty sleep, the Chamberlain's checking her pulse. There's no privacy in a world where lords, ladies, and whatever that smell is all fight for blanket supremacy. Medieval napping, equal parts aspirational self-care and highly suspicious alibi. Status is measured by your nap entourage. The peasants get one bed, if they're lucky. You get 3 chamberlains, 2 taster dogs, a widow in waiting, and a barber surgeon packing by the fire ready to lance anything that twitches. They call it attending your rest. You call it insurance in case of sudden stabbing. Corner offices don't come with daily corpse checks, but then most CEOs don't have to worry about arsenic in the pillow stuffing. Maybe you're worried about bedwetting rumors. Maybe you coughed 3 times and a scribe officially declared you a martyr before you finished exhaling. Stressful? Sure. At least nobody's doing a wellness check. You just get a monk with a bell and a lot of opinions. Then there's documentation. Die in your sleep and a scribe rushes in, quill ready to immortalize your last words. Never mind you were unconscious. Family feuds bloom around the bedside like mildew. Who gets the rings, who takes the tapestries, who's loudly insisting you wanted them to have the crown. Every nap is a soft launch for a succession crisis. Welcome to napping as a spectator sport. Don't worry, you'll wake up. Or not. Nobility's nap, equal odds of a status symbol, sudden investigation, or just another round of guess who's dead now. Worst Yelp review ever. Still chained. Still not dead. And the only turn-down service you'll get is a bucket and the vague hope that today your nap won't double as an autopsy prep. Congratulations. You're a surf spine like a question mark, hands like sandpaper, and sleep so deep the Grim Reaper checks your pulse and backs away slowly. Forget lucid dreaming. If you even remember a nightmare, it's because you were actually awake milking something that's mooing or snoring or both. Actual REM cycles. Sure. Everyone's favorite recurring vision is not shoveling in the rain. Bliss never looked so beige. Let's talk exhaustion. 8 hours. Try more like pass out face first in mud after 16, and some nights just stay there because rolling over counts as cardio. Your bedtime routine stagger into the tiny shack you call home, collapse on straw with yesterday's dinner caked on your shirt, and thank the universe if you're not sharing the blanket with a rat. No haunting memories, no soul searching. Just the vague hope you wake up with all your toes, fingers, and maybe your only spoon. If the rooster crowed, you made it. If you hear church bells, it's either another endless day or your funeral. Flip a coin. Odds aren't great. You want a sleep tip? Try pretending the pillow isn't full of lice. Mattress pad. You've heard of mattresses, but yours comes with splinters. That's called rustic chic. Covers are burlap fashionable if rashes are the look you're after. Remember those mattress commercials? Serenity lighting grinning actors memory foam that hugs your dreams. Never met a serf who wasn't reluctantly hugging a freezing pig for warmth. The only sleep study here involves not dying in your sleep. National average for nights slept through without interruption 0. It's not insomnia if you physically can't have thoughts. Serfs didn't need naps because existing was a full contact sport. Trouble drifting off. Not a chance. You'd pay money to even have a stray thought. You want a sound machine. Try the nightly chorus coughing livestock wheezing in-laws your neighbors, let's say, enthusiastic disagreement over a turnip. All conducted through a wall so thin the wind negotiates custody every night. The village soundtrack isn't whale noises or rain, just the wet slap of boots, chronic toothaches, and livestock flatulence on repeat. Try meditating through that. Sleep hygiene. That's just another word for dirt. Brushing teeth a concept. Hot bath a myth. The closest thing to silk sheets is hopping your blanket hasn't been chewed in 3 different places. Dream journaling. If you're awake enough to put pen to paper, you're already behind on your chores. Half the time you dream you're weeding a field while you're still in the field actually weeding. Inception, but with more blisters. Let's address nightmarish visions. Medieval horror. How about the daily roll call of which disease is trending this week? Woke up sweating from terror. Joke's on you, that's just the fever talking. If you remember your own nightmares, congratulations, you've probably survived the day. Night terrors are just unpaid overtime. Anxiety dreams. Try actual wolves at your door. Still worried about mental trauma? No need to overthink it, the brain checks out by 7 p.m. Emotional self-care hasn't been invented yet, and frankly, you're too feral to notice. Therapy is someone yelling, "Get back to work." Most modern humans have more conversations with their Fitbits than you'll have with your own family for a decade. Everyone's too wiped to speak. Nobody's debriefing the night's unresolved feelings. Most nights' rest is a black hole. No memories in, no memories out. Human resources, you say? Try hereditary bondage. Your work-life balance is a shackle. Vacation days 0. You don't call in sick, you just collapse directly into the vegetables. Job incentives not being whipped. Turnover not a metaphor. Half the village gone in a plague. Productivity still expected because wheat doesn't harvest itself. Your greatest achievement not dying before 30. It's all trade-offs. In theory, you could dream of freedom. In practice, your brain chooses survival mode over narrative building. For you, sleep isn't adventure, it's more like legal death. 0 plot, just blackness. No majestic quests, no shifting landscapes, no harrowing escapes from existential dread. In that sense, serfs accidentally stumbled upon a kind of psychological zen. If you're too empty to dream, nothing wakes you up screaming at 2 a.m. Here, the bleak punch nightmares can't haunt you if you forget your own name by sundown. The true horror, waking up, still breathing, still attached to your shovel, still chained, still not dead. No nightmare beats the day shift, and no pillow fights refund your morning. Sleep hygiene. Try the hygiene of medieval sleep. Translation: there isn't one. Your body cries out for rest, but the medical advice is roughly open a vein and see what happens. Doctors didn't just hate sleep, they waged open war on it. Case study: you snore too loud. Clearly that's too much blood rotting your brain. Solution: drain a pint, maybe 3, straight onto the hay-stained floor. Congratulations, you're lighter, paler, and too dizzy to notice the rats chewing your toes. Self-care medieval edition: bleed until the voices stop. Not asleep yet. Could be your soul trying to escape. Ask your barber to open another artery. Modern medicine wants you to do breathing exercises. Medieval doctors, bloodletting. The only thing letting you breathe was the hole in your arm, and if the problem persisted, time to consult the leech jar, a living, wriggling prescription pad. You wanted Ambien, got sanguine exsanguination. Even cutting-edge surgery involved an actual edge knives dipped in vinegar and wiped on a peasant's apron. Sterility, not a concept. Survival rates, unpublishable. Now about your bed, a word here meaning a pile of straw compressing your regrets into your lumbar spine. Meet your new nighttime guardians, bedbugs, lice, and whatever else slipped through the cracks in the mattress. No fitted sheets, no memory foam. Just a medieval mystery box where the prizes walk across your skin at midnight. Henry VIII had 4 physicians on call. None could cure a scratch, but all could prescribe leeches with Olympic enthusiasm. Even royalty wasn't immune. Palaces, manor houses, crumbling inns. Bedbugs did not discriminate. Luxury meant your bugs had a better class of fleas. Chronic insomnia. That's a flex. Try sleeping through fevers, infected wounds, and the gentle itch of 10-0 bugs on the night shift. Forget blackout curtains. It's drafty candlelit, and the neighbor's donkey interrupts your 4-minute REM cycle with a bray. The real sleep experiment: fall unconscious before you scratch your own skin off or before your blisters get infected. Modern science says you need REM cycles. Medieval logic says you need less blood and more prayers. Guess which one they could afford. Sleep disorders. Only if you survived long enough to have one. Every attempted cure risked making the problem fatal. Got night terrors. Here's sage smoke and fresh bleeding, maybe a poultice of 3 frogs and a secret prayer. Your pillow probably doubled as a mouse's winter home, a natural heat source if you could ignore the skittering. Everything in the room wanted to bite you, including the wallpaper. Let's talk bedbugs. Medieval DIY alarm clocks. Too many nocturnal bites. Boom, you're awake, sugar levels plummeting. Not enough. Congratulations, you'll dream of saints stabbing you with pitchforks instead. Early documentation claims bedbugs were helpful for waking up before dawn. Sure, if your definition of helpful includes rash, fever, and existential disgust. Glass half full, except the glass is leaky and probably contains someone else's hemoglobin. What did a doctor prescribe for all this? A new prayer, a cold compress, an extra hour on your knees. If you were lucky, maybe some rosemary under your pillow to scare the spirits and slightly disorient the lice. Treatments doubled as punishment: sleep in the stocks for public snoring, wear a garlic necklace to stop night walking, or just don't sleep. Then you're wholly hallucinating visions for the townsfolk and gently dying in the corner. And don't worry about privacy. Families slept together, beds shared, rumors spread, diseases multiplied. The only real sleep guarantee was a fever that finally knocked you out. Sweet dreams meant not waking up in a pool of your own blood. Airbnb for pain every night, another surprise guest. Still medicine persisted. Leeches migrated from ankles to temples to unmentionable places. Bloodletting manuals outnumbered Bibles. Ancient authorities agreed, if you're not bleeding, you're probably possessed or dead. Everyone knew someone who went asleep after a treatment and never woke up. The doctors shrugged. Wasn't the leeches? Probably. So next time you hate your mattress, remember the cure for poor sleep was starvation, a strategically placed leech, and 6 months sharing lice with your in-laws. Half the prisoners died in a week. You're on day 6, still chained, still not dead. Sleep tight. Spoiler alert, plague-ridden isn't a sleep aid you'll find in Goop's next newsletter, but honestly, it worked better than lavender. You crave deep rest. Try living in a town where everyone you know is either dying, hiding, or inventing new ways to cough up an organ. Pandemic-induced sleep nature's old-fashioned Ambien. Side effects include nightmares, fever, sweats, and being buried in the wrong grave. Not exactly a spa, but you take what you can get, especially when room service is just a monk muttering at your window. Here's the twisted flex. While you toss and turn over your second email reminder at 3 and medieval folks hit REM cycle like it was a team sport. Because what else was there to do? Social life canceled. No parties, no drama, no 6-hour medieval raves. Quarantine before it was cool, but with less door dashing and more spear waving at the window. You don't stay up late watching Netflix when life expectancy is basically a dare. The Black Death didn't just kill the vibe, it murdered FOMO and replaced it with a blanket of existential exhaustion. If you're looking for Do Not Disturb, try a city where even the rats have moved on to bigger things. You think insomnia is bad? At least your dread doesn't have a death toll. Medieval insomniacs weren't staring at blinking alarm clocks. They were listening to the neighbor 2 doors down cough his soul out at midnight and praying death took the scenic route past their house. White noise machine. Sure, but only if you're soothed by distant weeping frantic prayers or the clatter of a wagon piled high with former friends. Like ASMR but sponsored by the angel of death. Take Giovanni Boccaccio. Survived the plague. Wrote the Decameron. Basically one big I lived so I'm writing this in my pajamas. Not to brag, but you don't get prose like that unless you've slept through a building evacuation. Plague beds where fever dreams meet divine inspiration. Or hallucinations from dehydration. Both equally creative. Fun fact, Chaucer's Canterbury Tales also kicked off in a post-plague haze. Nothing inspires a pilgrimage like being one bad sneeze away from extinction. Forget blue light. Try sleeping in a world where half the neighbors are already ghosts. Gone is the morning commute, here comes the existential nap. Cities emptied out like post-apocalypse movie sets, rats judging your pillow technique, and the only real nightlife involves hearing which priest croaked at midnight. Sure, you miss your friends, also less snoring. Open windows didn't bring a breeze, just the scent of hastily dug graves and yesterday's despair. Sleep masks weren't black silk, they were boards nailed across the front door. Medieval sleep hygiene. Try this, you're stuffed into a room with the lucky survivors all coughing in 4-part harmony under blankets last washed during the Crusades. Pillows. If you're lucky, a sack stuffed with last season's straw still moist from tears, and whatever passed for disinfectant in 1348. No melatonin gummies, just the intoxicating relief of not being dead for now. But here's the rub: when the sun set and the city gates locked, your world paused. No light pollution, just darkness so thick it smothered thoughts. In that space, stress crumpled under the blunt force of sheer exhaustion. You collapse because existing is a full-time job. Terror and fever throb under your cheek, but at least there's no call time in the morning. Half sleep becomes a defense mechanism, your brain's way of saying, if I drift off, maybe the world will be less on fire tomorrow. Hope is a sleep schedule you can't control. Worried about being productive? Forget it. When your legacy is still not dead, you seize the nap like a lottery winner. Plot twist: sleeping through someone else's apocalypse is the new hustle culture. Side hustle, not getting buried alive. Self-care, not coughing in front of the wrong person. Restful, isn't it? Just you, the darkness, whatever passed for bedding, and the ever-present buzz of am I already dead? No pressure, but if the fever breaks, you'll probably have the best sleep of your life. If not, at least you can finally join that eternal mattress convention. Still chained, still not dead, still waiting for a wake-up call. Don't worry, it's coming right after the next coughing fit. Look around. Everyone's moving, snoring, or groaning, except the dead. You don't envy the nobles, the clergy, or even that guy chained to the horse trough. No, you envy the dead. Because in a medieval village, the only peace, privacy, or 8 hours of uninterrupted anything comes with rigor mortis. Team Alive gets perks: open wounds, open secrets, and the open-air latrine. You get the privilege of listening to Matilda hack her lungs out in the hayloft one wall away. You get the glory of midnight confessions, two-headed calves, and Dad arguing with the neighbor about whose soul is heavier. Every sneeze becomes a family event, every cough a town scandal. Dinner. Shared with 3 generations, 2 chickens, and a mouse migration. Meanwhile, Jeffrey, the one whose burial was mostly mud and wishful thinking, has found the true meaning of rest in peace. Nobody pokes you awake when you're rotting. Death is the original blackout curtain. The only setting with fewer interruptions is the plague pit. Forget spa retreats, forget do not disturb signs and weighted blankets. You want some world-class shut-eye? Try lying 6 feet under with the rest of the skeleton crew. Only the maggots keep a schedule, and they're quieter than your brother's night terrors. Think your fancy neighbor has it better. Even the nobles couldn't buy this kind of silence. Louis IX paid a fortune for holy slumber, but all the relics in France couldn't keep his servants, gossip out, or the lice down. Silk sheets don't shut out the highwaymen, the rioting peasants, or the wind chewing through stone. Imagine drifting off after a long day of tax collecting, just in time to be interrupted by a torch-waving mob. Silence, try again. Even the king's rest is suspiciously active. Alive, you get company, wanted and otherwise. Cold feet, cold breath, cold stares when you move in your sleep. The priest greets sunrise with a litany, the blacksmith hammers it home, and by noon your head is ringing like someone stuffed church bells in your skull. Sleep in. Not a chance. Sunbeams throw guilt like arrows, the bread, been stolen again, and someone tracked mud through the cottage. Every day is group therapy for people with no coping skills. Complain about your insomnia, and you're lucky if someone only accuses you of consorting with willow spirits. No white noise machines here, just crows, rats, and Aunt Isabel reviewing your life choices from the next bed over. Walls are made of straw and hope. Doors are optional. Privacy's a rumor. Half your village spends half the night awake, waiting, worrying, listening for the next cough, the next bell, the next step in the dark. Every midnight drink of water is Russian roulette. Ghost stories aren't paranormal, they're documentary. Someone always dies suddenly. The rest toss and turn, keeping an ear out to not join him. Meanwhile, the dead are doing laps in dreamland. No more waiting for rain to stop, for healers to arrive, for sons to come home. Their only appointment is decomposition, a timetable with no delays. 0 responsibilities, 0 interruptions, 0 alarms. They don't care about last rites, thread count, or whose goat ate whose turnip. They're not dreaming, they're done. The old joke about sleep being a cousin to death. Here it's more like a jealous rival. Your pillow is an itchy bag of straw your blanket might bite, and good luck escaping the fleas. The dead have none of these issues. Comfort in every medieval sense comes from finally not caring. So envy them. Salt of the earth roots through the ribs, wind overhead, and worms for company. It's the only way anyone gets their own room. Meanwhile, you're still here, still chained, still not dead. The rest is just noise. You want medieval sleep hygiene. Here's the starter pack: 1 dirt floor, 4 farm animals, an unidentifiable smell, and a prayer you don't wake up with a rat in your mouth. Did you imagine someone scrubbing linens in moonlight? Sorry, the only scrubbing here is the lice hopping between your eyebrows. Some call it natural living. Sure, if natural means slowly becoming compost. Forget about counting sheep. You're counting bedbugs in real time, by the hundreds. There's no memory foam, just memory loss from whatever you inhaled under that pile of filthy straw. Monks told you filth was next to godliness, so you sleep face down on the holy ground, marinating in that blessed mud-season aroma. Medieval Paris, city of saint sinners, and whatever that was crawling up your thigh. You want more detail? Fine. Your bed is a communal smorgasbord constructed from old straw, wood shavings, and possibly whatever the goat left behind. Bed sharing isn't just for couples, the whole nuclear family plus any unlucky servants cuddle up for a nightly lice transfer. First to fall asleep, last to wake up with bites. Royalty gets wooden slats and mattresses stuffed with moss, upscale luxury unless you're allergic to every plant in continental Europe. Like hotel upgrades, but your turn-down service comes with extra fleas. Henry IV of England, famous for night terrors and daytime execution orders, had the luxury of sacking out on hay sprayed with herbs. It didn't help. Herbal pillows, because nothing says relaxation like a sprig of lavender wedged into your sinuses while oxen pee outside your door. Aromatherapy meets medieval livestock management. Cleanliness is a distant rumor. You sleep in last year's tunic, last week's bath, and last night's stink. Windows. If you're lucky, there's a hole in the wall covered by oiled cloth, not glass. Fresh air means freezing air. Curtains, if you have them, are wool. Heavy damp blessed with the breath of 12 generations. You hold your nose, but the smell just comes around the back. Privacy, only if you're dead. The chamber pot is a bucket in the corner growing its own ecosystem. You wonder how anyone made it past 30. Spoiler, most didn't. Soap. Imported, expensive, and about as useful as medieval dental care. You'll just rub yourself with sand and hope for a gentle scouring. Nothing says self-care like sandpaper to the face. Scrubbing, for the rich. The rest of you are exfoliated by vermin. Good luck keeping out the wildlife. Fleas are just the warm-up act. Mice, rats, and the occasional snake treat your sleeping body like a turnpike rest stop. Wake up with a tail in your mouth. Perfectly normal. Half the population gets tapeworms, the rest just get eaten alive. If you're poor, you're swaddled in rags passed down from relatives, along with their skin diseases. If you're rich, you get fancier rashes. Covered in mud, itchy, and one whiff away from unconsciousness, you actually do sleep deep, mainly because your body's working overtime to keep your blood inside you. Bathhouses might exist, but they're less spa day and more STD speed dating. You dream of being clean, but wake up in a puddle that might actually be your own. Let's dispel the bedtime story. No stars twinkling overhead. No lullabies. Just the echo of someone retching in the courtyard and the comforting splat of livestock droppings outside the door. Bobbies, parked in swaddling cloth hung like sausages from ceiling beams, kept above the filth but still within biting range. Your great bedtime hope that whoever's snoring next to you doesn't cough up another medieval lung. So sleep tight. Don't let the bedbugs bite, hard to do when you're their midnight snack. In the kingdom of dirt, you're royalty. Crown, scepter, and ringworm all included. Still chained to the bedpost of history, but hey, at least you're well rested. Kind of. Still filthy. Still alive. Congratulations, you survived another night. Barely. You spent half your paycheck on a 12-inch thick memory foam mattress. Still, you wake up with spine scoliosis and a migraine that feels medieval. The irony, they got better sleep than you. On straw, on wood, on beds built like IKEA after a bad divorce. Medieval peasants, nobles, and plague deniers all hit REM, even when sharing a bed with 40 pounds of damp livestock and 7 relatives who snored like battlefield trumpets. Here's the punchline: medieval landlords slept on literal sacks of peas. Lumpy, buggy, vaguely resentful. And yet nobody whined about lumbar support. Their lifetime warranty was how long it took before the bed collapsed and killed you. Now, you demand custom zones, soft for your shoulder, firm for your existential dread, cloud-like for your credit card debt. You check review aggregators for coil count, sleep on your side like a yogi, then wake up feeling like you've been excommunicated by your own mattress. Meanwhile, your DNA remembers 1,000 years of sleeping upright in a corner to avoid the rats. Now you can't sleep unless your phone gets 8 hours, your sheets smell like spa coupons, and your bedroom airflow is set by NASA. Back then, Your airflow came preloaded with manure black mold and the sneaky hope that maybe just maybe a rat wouldn't crawl up your pant leg at 3 a.m. No blue light filter. No melatonin gummies. Just the darkness. Complete full package existential darkness, wrapping around you while the lice peaked around midnight. But let's get specific. Medieval sleep hygiene didn't exist. Himalayan salt lamp blackout curtains, white noise app, and a magnesium spray that cost more than rent. The result: you still wake up 4 times a night to measure your pulse. Medieval sleep rituals. They curled around a single candle and tried not to inhale fatal smoke from the roofing tar. You've got essential oils, humidifiers, weighted blankets, influencer lists of 10 habits for better ZZZS. They had hope the roof doesn't cave in. Half the prisoners died in a week. Urée on day 6, Goop certified and out of lavender. Mattress too firm. Order a new one. Medieval mattress too firm. Congratulations, it's the floor and someone else is already drooling on your side. Pro tip from Geoffrey Chaucer: if you can't sleep, invent a new genre of fart joke, then die of dysentery. You're out here fine-tuning your sleep hygiene and still living with back pain that could only be described as nobility chic. Let's talk about heat. Temperature control wasn't a setting. It was a hallucination you had during fever dreams. Your ancestors got soaked in sweat, then froze to the mattress, then woke up to find half the family bedded down on top of them because warmth meant surviving the night. You argue with your smart thermostat because it's off by a degree and ruins your circadian rhythm. They prayed for one warm stone at the foot and maybe just one less plague. Your bed hates you now. It knows you're a fraud. It watched you Google best pillow for side sleepers at 2:41 a.m. right before you doomscrolled the downfall of civilization. It remembers a time when people woke up at dawn out of fear instead of a Fitbit buzz. Your medieval ancestors. They woke up with a dagger under the pillow and a sincere gratitude for not choking on smoke or their roommate's foot. Every luxury you pile up: ergonomic bed frame, 5 kinds of foam, a playlist of Slavic forest rain, just makes the inevitable 3 a.m. insomnia feel like a taunt. You schedule your REM cycles like they're high-stakes business meetings. You fail to close still tired. Your ancestors. They dreamed of escape or a full meal or nothing at all. They were too busy being alive to notice sleep's imperfections. You're too busy nitpicking the thread count to notice you're being haunted by your own mattress. Now you never sleep well. Not because of the mattress, because the world won't let you off that easy. You're too busy tossing, turning, and micromanaging your REM schedule to notice. Still chained, still not dead. And your memory foam, it remembers.